Welcome to Frankie's.
Yeah.
Frankie had been saying for years that he wanted to have. How is this sounding? Is this good? Okay. He had been saying that he wanted to have a huge blowout party at the Rainbow on his 70th birthday. And it's his 70th birthday.
Yeah! Just breathe. You can do it.
All right, well, as you know, he had a long storied history with this restaurant from the 70s till recently, you know, for his whole life. And this is a special place for him. And I am going to play a video in a bit that I'll let him tell you. And you need to pay attention or you will not understand all the gifts in your gift bag. So just so you know, it's kind of like a test. So I want to give a special shout out to the crew who made the statue, Global Effects.
Yeah.
The artist's name is Alfred Paradisi. Oh, I said it right. Are you wearing that? Yeah. Heath and Bryce, also part of the team. And so thank you guys at Global Effects. I wanted Blackie Lawless to be here because he has a hilarious story about the first time that he met Frankie at the Rainbow. He was, you might have read it, but he was looted out, leaning up against the wall, and it was Blackie's first night in town, but his name wasn't Blackie yet. What was his name originally? Blackie Lawless. What was he? Who knows the answer to that? Blackie Lawless's real name. Steve what?
Duran.
I thought okay. Steve Duran. I thought it was something. Anyway, I thought I would embarrass him, but he couldn't make it. But he did meet Frankie here for the first time, and so they also had a story and history here. But I'm gonna ask Rudy Sarzo to come up and tell a story because he knows some good Rainbow Frankie stories. Here we go.
Yeah, Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy.
Rudy. That's a karaoke machine. Okay. How you guys doing? I'm going to give you some bullet points so you get a reference of my friendship with Frankie, which started 49 years ago.
Wow.
Actually, next year is going to be 50. On my birthday in 1972, on November 18th.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you.
As a youngster.
Okay, so 1972 we met and we started playing together. And I mean, there's a lot of stories, that I really don't have the time, to tell you everything. But I will tell you this: we were in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and this is in 72, 73. This is when disco came in, and we were trying to play rock and roll in Florida, which was, kind of like next to New York. It was like the big disco world down there. So as a matter of fact, at one point, Frankie, because whether disco was big or not, he was a huge James Brown fan. Yeah. So Frankie saw the opportunity for him to start playing funk, disco, James Brown music. So he actually got an afro wig and played with the band, And that didn't last too long. And then, actually, there's somebody in the room who's actually known Frankie longer than I have. John Van Horton. Yeah. And so we set up a strategy to leave Florida, and it was always like, okay, whoever gets out first is going to take care of the next, of the other one, and make sure that that we meet. So I wound up in Chicago, and at one point the drummer was out, and I called Frankie. So Frankie moves to Chicago. We played the circuit for about a couple of years, and we wound up here. 77, we were living together Melrose and Sweetser, and we would walk every night to the Rainbow. And in 77, for everybody who was around in 77, they still have pay phones that you could go and look for change. So we would collect change until we got to Kings Road on Santa Monica. There was a place called Mayfair supermarket, and we would go to the wine section and choose the best looking plain wrap wine box that we could find. And it was always a surprise because it didn't say Chablis or red or white, it just said wine. White box with blue letters, wine. And that would be like about $1 to pay that. So we started working on a buzz because we were starving musicians, you know. And one of the great things about the Rainbow that I look around, all you guys, and I mean, that was like Led Zeppelin's booth was back there, Deep Purple, The Who, the band Rainbow. So here we are, the generation that later on in the 80s became the new generation of musicians that were not starving anymore. But the Rainbow was always embraced us. Even if we were starving musicians, I think it's the same carpeting we have. It feels like it was really sticky. You know, and what we would do is do the walk. We would walk around hoping that somebody would invite us to sit down and maybe have one of the cinnamon buns that were so tasty, or a slice of pizza, or network with other musicians. So we would do that every single night. I mean, there was no social media. This was it. This was our social media. The reason why you came to LA was to come to the Rainbow and network if you were a musician from out of town. And I see a lot of faces that we all went through the same thing, and thank God we made something out of ourselves. Thank God for that. And but I got to tell you a story. At one point we met Ringo Starr's assistant. And at the time, Ringo was filming Cavemen. She was all by herself, Santa Claus is right. So he says, hey, why don't you guys come over and stay with me? So I said, sure. We were homeless, you know. So we wound up staying at Ringo's house, and it was beautiful, it was really nice. And one day, Ringo comes back. And he decides, I'm going to move out of here, and can you guys help me move? And so we helped Ringo move out of this house to this other place. It was actually on Woodrow Wilson. It was Mama Cass's old house. She had passed away at that time. And so we helped him move, and we get to hang out with Ringo, and we're like, you know, being huge fanboys. And so he gives us $20. And we're like, oh my God, we got $20. But this is a special Ringo $20. We can never ever spend it. So that night we came here, we had pizza and drinks, thanks to Ringo. You know, and what's great about being here talking to you guys about this is the fact that there's going to be an unveiling. You said what it is? Yes.
It's a statue of Frankie.
Okay. So I can say that. Okay. So what's really fitting is that Frankie symbolizes every single musician that walked this carpet. Because this place gave us hope and faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you ready?
Beautiful, Rita. You're awesome.
By the way, Frankie's with us tonight. Just so you know, his urn is at the table. So he's here.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving him here. He's coming home. He's here tonight. So I think I'm gonna set up the video now. James, are you ready to play it? Okay, remember, pay attention.
Kevin had asked Rudy about me. He wanted, he wanted to get some background information about me. He says, you're gonna have to hang out with Frankie to see what he's like and make up your own mind. And so, out of nowhere, I get a phone call one day, and it's Kevin. So he asked me if I was doing anything that night. I said no, and he goes, so you want to go to the Rainbow? And I said, sure. But you're gonna have to pick me up because I don't have a car. So he said, okay. And he came and picked me up in his yellow oval GT, which is the poor man's Corvette. And so he comes into my apartment and we looked at a bunch of records, and it was great because a lot of the records I had, he had. So all of a sudden, that was the beginning of our music appreciation relationship, because here's like two guys that are listening to pretty much all the same thing, which nobody else was listening to. So I get in his car and we're on the way to the Rainbow, and I said, wait. Go past the Rainbow and go to Gil Turner's Liquors. And he said, okay. And so we parked the car and we went in, and I said, do you have any money? And I think he had $10 and I think I had $7. And I said, okay, we'll each put in 5, and we got a bottle of Mouton Cadet, white wine. And we took it out to the car, and no bottle opener or anything. I just kept pushing the cork in with my phone. We went through, and I downed half the bottle, and I gave the other half of the bottle, and he goes, you expect me to drink this? And I said, yeah. And he goes, why? And I said, primer. He drank the other half of the bottle, and by the time we pulled up to the parking lot of the Rainbow, which was like a block and a half away, we were lit. So we go into the Rainbow, and he went one way and I went the other. And that's the last we saw each other that night. So the next day, I run into Rudy at McNatural's, and he says to me, what happened with you and Kevin last night? And I said, what do you mean what happened with me and Kevin? And he goes, yeah, he called me up this morning. He goes, that guy's an asshole. And I said, why did he think that? And he goes, because he says you guys walked into the Rainbow after drinking half a bottle of wine each, and then you disappeared and you left him there. And I said, how could I leave him there? He had the car. And so that was Kevin's introduction to the way I was at the time. I really didn't have anybody to work with. As a matter of fact, I used to get dressed up in my best rock and roll regalia and go into rehearsal studios and with a stick bag and pretend that I was there on business. I was there for a rehearsal. And my only purpose was to go through the rehearsal studio's garbage cans and take out drum heads that somebody else might have thrown away because they were definitely better than what was on my kit. That's how broke. That was that reality. So I'd go to the Rainbow because it was walking. I was living in West Hollywood at the time, and it was walking distance from the apartment I was at, but no money. So I would dress the part of the rock star so that I could actually get in and not be ignored, but then I had no money. So how I fed myself is, there'd be people with money, mostly musicians who were successful, and they had the pizza sitting, and I would just, I would scan the room, and when I saw that somebody was paying like attention to the girl that we're chatting up, I'd walk by and just take a slice of pizza. I didn't have to wash the pizza down with something, so the next table nobody's paying attention, and it's vodka Collins. The next table was Bloody Mary, and the next table was something else, and I made the rounds until I was satisfied. Tony and Michael at the Rainbow still are in a way my saints, because here I am, a nobody who's walking around basically a troublemaker because I'm stealing people's food and drinks, and Michael kind of turned the blind eye to it. You know, I don't know why, because I've seen him throw so many people out for the same thing, but for some reason he didn't do it to me. And then Tony, who's a good Italian boy, he would invite me into the kitchen and feed me. And it was really great because he had this little booth, just 2 chairs, his and mine. And he would invite me, and then after a while, he would call me up and says, "Hey, I'm gonna make pasta fagioli, so if you want to come down tonight, I'll feed you." And it was an incredible act of kindness, something I've never forgotten, because I meant nothing. I looked the part, but I meant nothing. And they took this almost fatherly kind of affection for me, which I still hold dear. I rarely go there anymore, but when I go, the first thing I do is go see Michael, give him a hug, give him a kiss on the cheek, and then if Tony is there, he's only there limited days now, not like in the old days when he was there every night. I still go into the kitchen and I kiss his ring, and he immediately wants to feed me. He'll pour me a glass of the best wine he has, not what the regular customers are drinking, and he always asks me if I want a shot of anisette with espresso beans at the bottom, as is customary to do by well-groomed Italians. I actually got a little misty thinking about it because it was, well.
Yeah. Yes.
We're short.
Drumsticks and all, that's great.
Yes. Thank you, son. Yeah.